Mental health issues are rarely a topic of casual conversation in the Philippines. These are often stigmatized and not treated as seriously as physical illnesses. Unlearning the wrong notions about mental health issues is a crucial step towards breaking the stigma in our society.
With regard to Filipinos' views about mental health, I think there is a spectrum. No? On one hand, there are those who have a more lackadaisical view about mental health, which really fuels the idea that mental disorders are not real, no? And that these are just reflections of a weak character or disposition or even a poor spiritual life. No? So, in fact, this view is reflected in the general hesitation of Filipinos for formal help seeking for mental health issues. And sometimes this also fuels the use of outdated or derogatory terms and attitudes towards mental health. And unfortunately, this view leads to stigma and discrimination, which really prevents people suffering from mental health disorders. It prevents them from getting the appropriate help and management of their case. On the other hand, there is also an increasing awareness and recognition, especially among the youth, about the importance of mental health and what it really is. I guess this is brought about in part by the inclusion of mental health in our curriculums. Also, I guess our increased exposure to global views about mental health, and also the efforts of mental health advocates to raise awareness about this issue and to push for public policy reforms. So, this view naman leads to a valuable shift in the general view of mental health in the Philippines. I would like to mention three outdated or erroneous views. First is, I think one of the most popular is that depression and anxiety are non-existent, or in general, that mental disorders are something to be ashamed of. So, as I mentioned earlier, this view really can lead to stigma and discrimination. And it can really prevent getting the appropriate help and management of the case. Now, if you don't treat it as a real disorder, as something real, then you won't get help for it. The second one is that Filipinos tend to seek help for mental health issues first, or primarily from trusted and sympathetic friends and family. That's a very cultural thing. And then usually we will only consult mental health professionals when the case is already very severe. So this comes about because of our notion of kapwa, or shared identity. And then the third view is that when it comes to mental health issues, Filipinos tend to attribute them sometimes to superstitious or supernatural causes, such as God's will or witchcraft, sorcery, which can be rooted from our history, pre-colonial times. We really go to folk healers, ganun talaga yung history natin. So there are still vestiges of that in the current times. In the mental health profession, we tend to use the biopsychosocial model, which tells us or which shows that mental disorders have a biological origin, a social origin, and psychological origin. So it's not just one thing. It's usually a combination of those things. But spirituality has been found also to really be associated with psychological well-being. But it's not the only thing that is causing the mental disorders or mental health issues. It could be one. That's why there is another model, the biopsychosocial spiritual model that is being proposed. But we have to understand that it's not purely a spiritual thing when we are dealing with mental health disorders or mental health issues. I think even in the present time, we are already experiencing the consequences of um, having these outdated or erroneous views. So from a macro perspective, our mental health really is connected or related to our economy. You know? The citizens of a country are the human capital of that country. So if they are not healthy, then of course that can impact the productivity of these people, and that can also impact our economy. So it's really a bi-directional relationship between our mental health and our economy. So if we are not productive, we're not contributing to the economy, then that can impede our development as a nation. And then this poverty or difficulties of living in this nation will then reinforce again the mental health disorder. So it can be a vicious cycle really of impairment, unpredictability, and poverty. From a micro perspective naman, on the level of the individuals who are experiencing the mental health disorders, of course, the most important thing that is affected is their quality of life. It's so hard to live with depression, with anxiety. Sometimes you will question the meaning of your life if you're experiencing this. Now, what's the point of living if I am forever sad, if I am forever nervous about things, forever fearful about these things? And consequently, their relationships may also suffer. The caregivers around them, will also feel like they are incompetent, they don't know how to help this person. They may, again, be overly optimistic or overly pessimistic about the prognosis of their loved one's situation. So their relationships can also be affected. And of course, their work or their study. So they're not able to perform. There is an impairment in their capacity to perform at their best or at their fullest potential. So there really is a loss in the potential and loss of productivity for the person, for them to be able to make a living for themselves. So there are things that we can do on a societal level and on an individual level. So on a societal level, I think we should continue what you are doing as an organization, which is really to advocate for changes and improvements in our public policies. And one way we can do that properly is to include mental health practitioners, professionals in developing these improvements or reforms in these policies. I also think that education and awareness are crucial. So we should continue teaching this in schools. And our policies really should be, the things that we teach in our policies should be based on research and evidence-based practices. On an individual level, the first thing we can do is to adopt an attitude of openness and humility. And so we have to try to be empathetic and humble, na maybe our outdated views are not accurate anymore. So we have to be humble enough to be corrected. Another is to extend understanding and compassion to ourselves and to other people. So that means that you can sit with your feelings. You can be compassionate. It's okay if you're having those feelings, to recognize them. So that's very important. Another is to educate yourself and other people. So whenever we have the chance, if you are someone who is more informed about these issues, to impart that knowledge to people who may not be as knowledgeable about it. And lastly, it's important to ask for help when you need it. It's okay to ask for help, even as mental health professionals. It's crucial for us to ask for help when.
The human mind is so precious and at the same time so complex. Any concerns about it should never be set aside or ignored. It's time to acknowledge that mental health is just as important as the other aspects of personal health. It's time to move past our erroneous views and acknowledge mental disorders as a reality. Always remember that you are not alone in any of your battles. You are heard. You are understood. And most importantly, your feelings are valid. This is Tiger TV's The Conscious Mind, reminding us to live life with serenity and that healing comes from within.